Welcome back. Parliament will vote on a motion Monday to declare China's treatment of its mainly Muslim Uighur minority a genocide. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stopped short of using that label, saying more study is needed. Joining me now to discuss is Mehmet Tohti. He's a Uighur activist who's been living in Canada since 1998. Good evening, Mehmet. Thanks so much for being with us on Canada Tonight.
Thank you, Janella, for having me.
I want to get your take. What do you make of the Prime Minister shying away from this declaration using the term genocide?
Unfortunately, that's the game we have been playing around since a long time, just escaping to use the right word in fear of angering China and with the expectation of getting a trade deal. And nothing has happened since a number of decades. And it's time to call what it is, and it is a genocide and taking place, so we have to call it exactly that.
At the end of the day, what does a declaration mean for the Uighur community, both here in Canada and those who are still in China?
And most importantly, it means that we are upholding our values and we are owning our own signature as a signature party of Geneva Convention, because we have a responsibility when genocide is occurring, and if we know that genocide is occurring or is about to occur, we have a legal responsibility to just take action to stop it and punish those responsible for that genocide. And for Uighur communities inside East Turkestan, what China calls Xinjiang or exile, it is a bit of hope that at least world communities take on notes and start.
When you hear Trudeau saying more study is needed before he can make that statement, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like it's disappointing? Do you feel like there's enough evidence to make that statement?
And many Canadians take that statement as an intentional delay for the action of government of Canada. We know that since a number of years, human rights chief in the United Nations, they called for access to observe general human rights in China. Their request has not been granted so far. And the human rights rapporteur requested a number of times to have access in the region to observe the general human rights abuses. Chinese government never allowed that. So for Canada's request to have unfettered access in the region to check the real situation, it is just empty rhetoric, and it's not going to happen. China never allows the foreigners or foreign observers to come and to see the crime scene. It is impossible. Even if it is allowed, it will be a theater for observers to go and watch.
You left China more than 20 years ago, but you still have family there. Have you been able to be in touch with them? When was the last time you spoke, and what do you know about their current situation, if anything?
The last information I got about my mother was the January 20th, just 3 hours before my appearance to testify before the subcommittee of human rights. And one agent of Chinese government sent me a message, basically said, your mother is dead.
Wow.
And that is directly threat, stopping me from testifying before the committee. And last time I spoke personally to my mother was October 23rd, 2016. Since then, my 37 relatives with the my mother 38, I haven't spoken with them. I didn't have any means of communication with them since more than 4.5 years.
Wow. And so by
I don't even know whether they're alive or dead. Just
Right.
I have to emphasize, I don't have any information about their whereabouts, whether they're alive or dead.
I can't imagine how difficult that must be. And by that token, there must be so much fear in people like you speaking out. And so is that part of why you need a government like Canada to speak on your behalf, to speak for you?
That's exactly right. We have to be a voice of those voiceless people, number one. Number two, they are unable to speak because of the repression. And the Chinese government is deploying all means of state power to persecute people and putting millions of them in concentration camps and sending them, displacing them into factories across China for forced labor, separating children from parents, and enforced sterilization. All evils are taking place. And so it is impossible for those people to speak up. And they are already paying heavy price. And as a relatives, as a citizen of this country, it is our obligation to speak up on their behalf and shed some lights on their stories.
In the Prime Minister's defense, though, we do have to recognize that there is a delicate situation with China. We have, the two Michaels detained there. But you actually say that speaking up could help bring them home faster. Explain why you think that is.
And unfortunately, our government's position is just making a step in a careful way. That is exactly what the Chinese government wants. And that is exactly the indirect signal we are sending to China that the Chinese abduction tactics are working. And we are indirectly contributing to the Chinese detention of two Michaels, Andrew St. Jalil, and other Canadian citizens. And so we have to grow some spine and we have to stand up. When we stand up, we get stronger. When we get stronger, we have a better chance to see those two Michaels and other Canadian citizens. Otherwise, if we continue like this is exactly what China wants, and using our Canadian citizens as a remote control, and controlling our policy, controlling our decision-making process. And now our current China policy exactly serves the interest of Chinese government.
Just quickly before we run out of time, a statement or a declaration is just one thing. Is there anything else, any other actions you would like to see?
Of course, there is forced labor products full in our supermarkets, and unfortunately, textile and cotton-related products are everywhere in our store shelves. Canada should take some meaningful action to stop the importation of those textile, tomato-related products, as well as solar panel, because 41.72% of global supply of polysilicon products coming out of the region. That is the products exactly used for solar panel.
Right.
And so market is huge and impact is huge. We have to take some actions.
All right, Mehmet Tohti, a Uighur activist here in Canada. Thanks so much for sharing your story tonight.
You are welcome, Janine.